Hey guys, so this is going to be a little bit more relaxed video. Sorry for the sudden change in format, but this week is the last week before finals start at my school, and I kind of needed something that I didn't have to sit down and script for. As I've mentioned in my videos, I basically write every single word that I say, and it gets a little bit exhausting. So today I decided, alright, I'm just going to sit back and I want to give you guys a tour of my audio equipment, because the next big scripted video that I'm working on is actually a headphone analysis. So that is a review of the Sennheiser HD650s. I don't actually have them on the table here because I kind of want to save my thoughts for the main video, but suffice to say, I have a lot to say about it. But this week I just want to go over the headphones that I use day to day and what I use each one for, because I actually have been criticized. Well, criticized is the wrong term, but I've been questioned about how many headphones I have. I'm gonna start with the headphones I've had the longest to the most recent purchase that I made. So the first set of headphones that really got me into audiophile stuff is the Samson Sr 850s. These came off of a recommendation from DankPods. Actually, he's recommended these a lot, and I kind of thought, okay, I want a semi-open back headphone that doesn't really need any power to drive, and these ticked basically every single box. They're super comfortable long term. This self-adjusting strap is actually a trend that I followed with my one of my most recent purchases, and I'll show you that in a second. But the only thing that I didn't like about these was the ear cushions. These big soft ones are not actually the original cushions that came on these headphones. They originally shipped with these weird little, I'll move this out of the way, these weird little felt pads that just kind of don't feel very good against your ears, and especially with glasses. They rub against my frames and create a lot of noise that I just don't find very nice. So I immediately took these off and replaced them with a $10 pair of cups. And I'll go over how I replace these on one of the next pairs of headphones I show you guys, because it's a pretty easy process, and I recommend, especially for this next pair, that you do it if you can. Otherwise, the way these sound is actually really balanced. These were my video editing headphones for a while. Music sounds great on these. They don't benefit very much from tubes. They're kind of flat no matter what you do with them. But that's really nice for video editing, because you're gonna get a pretty truthful sound. Music, these really aren't music listening headphones for me, but I do have a couple of other pairs that I'll be showing you soon. Mostly these are, or were, the headphones that I use when I need to know that what I'm listening to is what I recorded. I don't use them as much anymore, and like I said, I'll get to the headphones that I replaced these with in a second. But these are like $50-ish, and they're a super good purchase. Like, if you are getting into video editing and video recording and you need something to monitor your sound while you're editing, these are great. So $50, very solid headphones. Add $10 for the replacement ear pads. So I'll put these over here. The next set that I bought was these Meze Classics. Well, actually, these aren't classics. These are Meze Noirs. Same thing as the classic, but slightly lower bend. Basically, these drivers aren't as precisely controlled as the Meze Classics are. Here, I'll give you a better look. But these are just, all around, these are some of my favorite headphones. These are the mass drop ones, so they're about $200. And like I said, this self-adjusting headband is so nice. The headphones basically just sit right on your head with nice soft cushioning. All of this is what it originally came with. The only thing that I don't like is that while it starts with a nice braided cable, it transitions to this sort of rubbery one, and as someone with, is there one behind me? As someone with cats, say hi, pet. That can be a little bit nerve-wracking for me. Like, if a cat sits in my lap, I'll get kind of worried that they're gonna start biting this cable. But super, super comfortable, and couple of song recommendations for getting the most out of these. Like the first song I listened to when these showed up in the mail was Ivory Road by Prince Charles. It's just, these are so good with like cello and bass guitar. Like anything that's sort of mid to low end sounds just fantastic on these. Like these were the first like excellent pair of headphones I ever owned, and I'm really glad that these were the first ones because they're just an excellent bass line. So $200, and these can run out of a phone. Like they're not very high impedance at all. I strongly recommend them. If you only buy one nice pair of headphones in your life, make it the Meze Noirs from Mass Drop. They're just so nice. They're not clean. Like I would never use these for video editing, but I play games with them all the time. Like seriously, these are just a lot of fun. Yeah, not really anything I would change about it. I really do wish they sold a version that had the noir cup style, but with the classics gold trim. I think black and gold is just a really underutilized color scheme, and I would like it a lot more than what the classics have, which is like walnut and gold, but whatever. There is also, I should point out, a $100 version of these called the Meze the Meze Neos, but I think, I don't know, their aesthetic is just a little bit much for me. Like black and silver is, I know I just said black and gold is great, but black and silver feels a little gaudy to me. Like I would never feel uncomfortable like putting these around my neck and wearing them out. Like if I was going to a coffee shop or if I was on the bus, these cut out a lot of noise. So if I was like walking somewhere and I wanted a pair of headphones to listen to my music on, I would never feel uncomfortable walking around with these. They're just very nice, subtle headphones, and I really enjoy them. I do also use these with tubes. They need them less just because of how warm their sound signature is already, but I will go over the tubes that I use for these in a minute. But yeah, Meze 99 Noirs, $200 on Mass Drop. I really strongly recommend them. The next pair of headphones I bought are a mistake. Most people should not buy these headphones. These are Audio-Technica, I can't even remember, like ATH M20X. These are, they're not even that bad. Like, these are the headphones that you are most likely to have heard in one form or another. They sound very similar to, I don't remember what the exact model number is, but there's a Sony pair of headphones that are just really common, like studio headphones, and they sound fine. Like these sound perfectly fine. You would never, if you were listening to just these, you would never say, oh, these are a really bad sounding pair of headphones. They're just kind of nothing. They sound like very generic headphones. The reason that I like them, or the reason that I bought them, is because they are so noise isolating. I basically can't hear, I can't hear the loud part of my voice. All I can hear when I speak is like the internal reverberations of my head. And I needed that because these are not noise canceling, they're just noise isolating. And I don't even wear these headphones. These headphones sit at the desk for my director to put on and listen to my microphone. Like when I have it over here. When I have my lapel microphone on, these are the headphones my director uses to monitor the audio and make sure that the signal is clean. So yeah, I don't even wear these headphones, but I needed to buy them or a set of headphones like them. I was torn between these and a pair of Sennheiser SR280s, HD280s. Yeah, I was torn between these and a pair of Sennheiser HD280s, but what sold these for me is that they don't have a headphone, or they don't have a phone style like corded cable. They just have a nice flat cable, which I strongly prefer. I don't like how tangled coiled cables can get. Like, I love the look of them. That's why my keyboard actually has a coiled cable on it. But I just don't like how rubber coiled cables can wind up getting really tangled and messy. So yeah, these sound fine, but they isolate noise really, really well. They cost, I think, $70-ish, but I think I got them at a discount. If you need a pair of headphones, especially to use with a camera, like if you're going out on a shoot and your camera guy needs to be able to hear your microphone, throw a pair of these on, and it won't matter if you're recording like next to a city street. They will be able to hear your microphone very, very clearly, and it won't cause any issues. Like, they'll be able to tell if your microphone cuts out or if there are any cracks or pops. So, yeah. Not great sounding, but very good for studio use. And the last pair of headphones I'll talk about before I move on to my audio equipment is the most recent pair of headphones that I got. These Dt990 Pros. Now, I love these, and I'll tell you right now, the headphone or the ear pads are garbage, at least on the original ones. And it's not even because they're particularly bad feeling, it's because they age like cheese that's been left out on the counter. So I bought these secondhand for about $50, which is like tantamount to highway robbery, basically. But I bought them used, and used headphones basically all sound as good as they ever have. Like, used headphones should be the easiest purchase that you make if you can find a good deal, because used headphones don't sound any worse than they did when they were brand new. Sometimes they sound better, just because headphones occasionally require like a breaking in period. But for these, while they sounded amazing, the ear cups looked like this. And I know smell-o-vision isn't a thing, but they smell like the hair gel of the guy that I bought them from. Just this really not pleasant funk that, because these sit on your head, is constantly right next to your nose. So the first thing that I did when I bought these was I also bought a spare pair of ear cups on Amazon. These are so plush. They're actually the same brand as, where did I put them? They're the same brand that I put on the Samsons. Just this really nice memory foam material. And I'll say this, memory foam has no place on headbands. I think headbands with like this hammock design or with a much harder foam, like what's at the top of these, just a nice hard foam that bounces back really easily, that's what should be on headbands. But memory foam on the ear cups is fantastic because these apply sideways pressure. They don't sit, gravity doesn't smush them down to your head like it does on your headband. Instead, they clamp. So the faster these can conform to the shape of your head, the better. And these are already starting to do that, which makes them just so comfortable. Like, they don't look especially deep, but my ear never touches the inside of the driver here. I will say there is one caveat. If you have to put a spare set of cups on these headphones, let me grab them again. They actually are in two parts. So there's the outer cup. This is on the original one. So there's the outer ear cup, and then on the inside, there's actually this felt disc that sits to protect your ear from sitting against the driver. You have to take both of these out when you put a new set of pads on, because most of these, especially this brand, come with an internal foam already built into the ear cup. So if you leave both layers of foam inside the ear cup, it's going to cause a significant change, especially in the treble of all of the sounds that you listen to. So yeah, just make sure when you take the other ear pads off, you also take the felt out of them. But otherwise, they sound exactly the same with these replacement pads, and they feel just so comfortable. Like, I have worn these for hours. I game with these, I record with these. The reason I got the Dt990s in specific was because I also wanted a new set of studio headphones, so these are also what replaced my Samsons, just because they're a very balanced sound. They're not boring, they're balanced, so the roll-off on their bass is significantly less pronounced than it is on something like the HD650s, though I won't go too far into what those sound like, because like I said, that's the next video after this. But otherwise, yeah, it's just a really, really pleasant and balanced sound that just, it's so good. These, being open backs, also benefit quite a bit from tubes, so that's the next thing I'll talk about. And real quick, I never use tubes when I edit video. I only use tubes when I'm listening to music or playing games. I never use it when editing video because I don't want to introduce that distortion to it. So whenever I'm editing video, I plug these straight into my Scarlett Solo, which I suppose is a great transition to my audio equipment, first and foremost, I want to address the best part of my entire audio setup, and that is this microphone. You'll actually hear me get a little quieter because this is the microphone that I'm currently recording on. This is my dad's Electro Voice, what's the model? 635. This was constructed in the 60s, I think? 50s or 60s? And it sounds phenomenal. So it's a dynamic microphone, which means I am using a lifter. I'm actually using, let me see if I can grab it here. I'm using a cloud lifter, which is known as a mic activator. Basically what it does is it takes phantom power from my Scarlett Solo and turns it into gain boost, as well as a couple of other filters that just make dynamic microphones sound amazing. Like this cloud lifter is basically the same thing that people use on their Shure SM7Bs to make them sound just mint in the studio. I was torn between a cloud lifter or a dynamite, but I was able to get the cloud lifter for $50, which actually the same deal gave me the cloud lifter and the Dt990s for $100 total. Like, there was no way I was gonna say no to that deal. But yeah, using this lifter with this microphone, I'll show it off again just because it's so pretty, is probably the best decision I've ever made. Like, I don't think I will ever change this microphone. I'm certainly never going to use a Shure SM7B because, honestly, that. I just don't think the Shure SM7B sounds very unique. And I understand that's the point. It's a microphone that sounds exactly like your voice, and that's why people like it. But I honestly prefer personality over standardization. So I greatly prefer to use an old microphone with a strange pickup pattern and likely won't upgrade ever unless it actually dies on me, but I don't think that's gonna happen. It's had 70 years to die and it's still kicking. So the next thing I want to show you guys is my audio setup. So I'm not going to show you my Scarlett Solo, but just know I'm using a Scarlett Solo. I think it's a 2nd gen. I can put some B-roll up on screen right now so you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's just a very generic Scarlett Solo. I just needed a DAC and something that I could plug 2 microphones into. I thought about getting a 2i2, but the Solo had a line in and an XLR in, and I haven't noticed any significant decrease in audio quality using the line in for my microphone, for my lapel microphone. The tubes that I use, and I use these for my open backs almost exclusively, although like I said, I do use them for the Meze sometimes, just not super often. This Succa Audio tube amplifier, though I need to point out right now, these are not the tubes that it originally came with. I swapped them out immediately because, and this was a very astute tip from Joshua Velour, tube preamplifiers, because this is a preamp, not an amp. This is something to be added to your audio chain. This is not going to amplify your sound all on its own. Tube preamplifiers are functionally all the same on the inside because there's no amp to be worried about. So all they are is a set of wires that carries a signal from your input to your tubes to your output. So if you get a cheap preamp, you can then spend your money on the tubes that go into the preamp, and that's where a lot of your sound differences are going to come from. So originally these came with different tubes, and I rolled instead with this set of Riverstone audio tubes. They're basically the first thing that comes up when Amazon does its like customers also bought this. They're just a nice $16 set of matched tubes. They sound really good and a lot better than the tubes that came with this. Like the tubes that came with this sound muddy almost, like not even bassy, just squished, like you were listening to your music through a layer of water or glass or something. So I swapped those out with much better pair of tubes, and it was a phenomenal upgrade. especially with something like the HD650s or my DT990s, having the ability to manually give back some of that bass is super good, especially when you're listening to older like synth pop or metal, and increasing treble as well gives it a nice V-shaped sound, even on something like the HD650s or the 6XXs, which traditionally have a not V-shaped sound at all. It's a really good improvement to make. But because this is only a preamp, I also needed an amplifier, and this is the actual first piece of audio equipment that I bought. Those Samsons were the first audiophile-ish headphones that I bought, but the first audiophile equipment that I bought was this shit Magni heresy. And I'll be completely honest, I did lots of research to make sure that the heresy did not sound that much, if at all, different from the normal shit Magni, and that is because I wanted the heresy because it was red and it matched my Scarlet Solo. That's the only reason. I just wanted a red amplifier. So the way that my setup works is, if you can imagine for me for a second, I have my Scarlet Solo, which then feeds into my preamp so that I can adjust the tone to the point that I want it, and then my preamp feeds into my Magni Heresy, which is basically just a clean, amplified output of the adjustments that I have made in my preamp. So this is the final sound output, and this sends a signal out to both my speakers and to my headphones because I have passive speakers. I also don't think I'll be able to show too much of them. I might be able to bring one of them in here. Let me move these out of the way. So for speakers, I use these Klipsch R14Ms, which are just a really nice pair of bookshelf speakers. They're not especially responsive. I only really use them when I can't sit down on my desk and have my headphones in. But they are very, very nice looking. I had an option of these or PreSonus 4.5 Arises, but I tried them both out, and I found that the PreSonus speakers had this kind of ambient hiss to them, which seems to just be an artifact of them being powered speakers, and it's not something that I was willing to have on my desk. So passive bookshelf speakers ensure that I'm never going to have a hiss. I can turn them completely off if I need to, and I have them plugged into a pretty cheap, honestly, amp, just a little one that I got because it was red and matched my shit Heresy and my Scarlet Solo. I'll leave Amazon links to all the stuff that I showed in this video down below, except obviously the microphone, which I don't think Amazon links exist for. But that's the pretty full tour of all of my equipment. Again, this video was pretty laid back just because I need some time to work on my finals and I didn't want to stress about the video for this week. But if you guys like this, I'd be happy to do a couple of other tours, like my desk setup, especially like going over all of the parts in my editing PC, or my living room setup where I have like a full Wii emulator and 4 controllers and just a whole bunch of cool stuff. So yeah, just let me know if that's something else you'd like to see in a similar video series, and I'll see you guys next time. Pep, look at me. Pep, I give you so many places to sleep, and this is where you choose to be.